Episode 129 of Five Drinks at Midnight. In our show, we bring the questions, guests bring the drinks, we try to wrap up before midnight. Today, we are talking to Tyler Wang, Senior Brand Ambassador for Beam Suntory Tequilas. He's going to take us on one hell of a flavor journey. Let's get started. Tyler, thank you so much for joining us. Five drinks or midnight, five drinks, five questions, midnight, whatever comes first. How you doing today? Thanks so much for joining us.
I am wonderful. Thank you so much, Tim. Really excited to chat a little bit. Excited for an excuse to dive into these five cocktails.
And, Me too. Have a good time. I'm excited. This is going to be awesome. I guess, yeah, what are we drinking first?
What are we drinking first? So this is El Tesoro Blanco, our wonderful, traditional, our baseline tequila, the heart and soul of what we do, because everything builds on top of our Blanco. And then Verdita. Verdita's a little less popular than its, big brother Sangrita. Okay. A lot of people drink Sangrita, and there's a lot of versions of it, right? Sangrita is sometimes tomato-based in what's essentially Bloody Mary mix. But traditionally, it was a little more fruity and floral. It was actually pomegranate juice and mango and pineapple with all the flavors pulled out from spices and chili and salt. Verdita takes that idea, but goes all green and way more refreshing, way more floral. So usually, Verdita starts off with a pineapple base and then a bunch of cilantro, cucumber, sometimes a little mint. I like to add a little serrano chili, and then I add a little Granny Smith as well.
Excellent.
Yeah.
So then how do we drink it? Do we sip it, the green stuff first and then the tequila? Or
Well, I have a very important rule when I go out drinking, I can't tell you how to party. You got to drink it however you want to drink it. But in this case, the idea is it's a chaser, right?
Okay.
So have a little bit of tequila, have a little sip of Verdita to kind of clear your palate and go back and forth.
Okay. Well, cheers.
Cheers, salud. Oh, I love it.
It's so damn good.
Here's the thing. I think when we drink tequila, we're so used to a lime and salt or orange and cinnamon, whatever kind of tradition you come from, that we kind of forget to enjoy the tequila. You usually chase it so quick with a lime or orange that you lose the entire flavor. So the Verdita, at least my recipe, is intended to kind of highlight some of the lighter, more vegetal notes of the tequila. Tesoro Blanco has this really great element of orange and sage and mint right there in the Blanco, really, really vegetal and bright. So I try to play that up in the Sangrita so we have something that just aids the next sip rather than covering it up.
I really love the apple that you put in there now with the aftertaste of that tequila. That's so nice.
Apple and tequila is some of my favorite pairings. If you ever get to sit in front of a really great bartender and ask them for pairings of agave spirits and apple brandy, you get some really, really beautiful cocktails. The way apple brandy and agave work together to create like that just boosts the floral element, boosts the fruit element in really great tequilas. It's a wonderful pairing.
Yeah, I'm down. That is fucking delicious. All right, question one. It's always the same. It's a little bit of an origin story, but how does a theater kid get into the tequila brand ambassadorship?
I'm pretty sure the only thing you have to do is fail at theater. It seems like everyone in the ambassador world came from some element of performing arts. But I was really fortunate, right? I was born and raised in San Diego, moved to Boston for the Boston Conservatory, a really incredible musical theater conservatory, dance and music conservatory. And I was there for a couple years, really enjoyed it, loved Boston. But while I was just working to kind of pay off rent, I started working at this little bar. And I loved this bar. I loved the way you get to take care of people and have kind of that immediate interaction as opposed to 70 feet away on stage. So I kind of took a giant leap then. I left the conservatory, went to culinary school in Vermont instead,
Nice.
and got my degree there. So after getting a degree from culinary school, New England Culinary Institute, I started working at this incredible cocktail bar in Boston that has just recently shut down, a place called Drink, where I was shown the ropes, everything from how to measure ingredients to how to balance a cocktail and take care of guests. And while I was there, their well tequila was El Tesoro. So that was my first little sip. And the moment I fell in love, I still have this memory of, the dark winter night when I first tasted it and felt like the clouds
Hardened and opened.
Because of this beautiful tequila. And I've been kind of chasing that high ever since.
Performing arts is, and again, not to hark on, I know we're here to talk about tequila, but we'll get, follow me on it. But, performing arts is in your background because your dad is a professional dancer. Your grandparents were in the circus, or great-grandparents were in the circus. How, do you feel like that helps you be, like you said, that, all you had to do was fail at theater and you become a really great brand ambassador. But do you feel like that becomes a bona fide skill, if you will, to really kind of become a brand ambassadorship, if you will?
Yeah, no, it certainly gives you a base skill set, right? When you look at the world of ambassadors, there's a lot of different kind of styles. Some people are more kind of there to swipe their card at clubs. Some people lean more towards the education side and the event side. For me specifically, my background in theater just kind of taught me how to craft stories and tell those stories. So now getting to work with Carlos and his family, getting to work, amongst the incredible legacy brands at Beam, I get to take those stories that are so ingrained in our brands and find ways to communicate them to the various people, whether we're talking bartenders or consumers. That the way to find, craft, and then tell the story, it's certainly helpful to have a little theater background. But the rest of the circus folk and ballet dancers and everything, that just, I don't know, makes me stumble a bit more. I don't know, it just makes for better, sillier stories when people actually dive into who I am.
So back to your ambassadorship. So again, you went to culinary school. You did you go from California to Boston to Vermont back to Boston? Is that the
correct? Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
And then what made you jump from the, I guess, bar side into the ambassadorship? And then how'd you end up in Texas?
That's quite the story. So I was in bars and restaurants, running bars and restaurants, learning everything for about 10 years in Boston. I was very lucky to kind of put in charge of a couple really great bars down near the Fenway area. And while I was there, I was getting lovingly pestered by a good friend of mine who was working for Beam at the time. Kind of funny situation happened where because I had been doing some sort of under the table work for El Tesoro, essentially calling out the local team for not doing enough with it and taking it on myself. They wanted to bring me on the sales side. I wanted to run bars. I pushed my buddy in front of me. And then by the time he got elevated to the next role, he brought me, by the collar onto the team. So I joined first as a salesperson, what we called a luxury specialist back in the day, responsible essentially for really great high-end hotels and cocktail bars.
Okay.
Doing the whole sales side, going through all of the brands for Beam Suntory. And while I was doing that, they kind of gave me a chance to prove myself with a program they called Protectors of the Peat, which is kind of their Scotch specialist. I know you sat with
Simon,
my dear idol, Simon Brooking, in my opinion, the best to do the ambassador game.
Yes.
But I got to learn directly from him. His songs and stories, well, it really kind of shaped who I am now and the way that I talk to people and welcome them into our brands. He's just an incredible man.
And again, yes, 100% agree. But also theater. He has a theater back. So again, it just
does indeed.
Yes. So bring it all back. But yes.
So I did the sales side at Beam Suntory in Boston for about 2 years. The opportunity to work specifically with the tequila brands opened up 2 years into it, and I was lucky enough to get granted the role.
Awesome.
And they brought me down to Texas. We sell, as you might be surprised to hear, a little more tequila in Texas than in Boston.
Probably just a little bit, like
Just
maybe.
a touch.
Yeah.
But yeah, we moved down here to Houston. I was lucky enough a few years before we moved down to spend some time with Bobby Hugel and his bar Anvil, just as like a stage to experience the bar, and just had an absolutely incredible time here in the city. So it was a no-brainer when moving to Texas to find a home for ourselves here in Houston.
That's a great origin story. I mean, I think that is just freaking cool. I love that, just the finding your passion in something and then that kind of thing, and then just growing that and then going into culinary and then coming back to the bar. I think it just, you found your one true love.
Yeah, I've always kind of been driven. My lovely mother, who worked for all of her years at Hewlett Packard, writing the manuals for them, she enjoyed her job just fine, but her kind of wish for me going into whatever role I decided was, one, get a degree, because obviously having a degree does kind of elevate your opportunities just to get your foot in the door. But beyond that, she said, people kind of have two sorts of jobs. They have a job that they just do, and then they get to go home at night and spend time with their family and do other things that they love. Or very few people get to do the one thing that they absolutely love to do and devote their lives to it. And I've been lucky to be put in a position where I get to celebrate and showcase these amazing tequilas that I love and have loved for so long. And I really can't imagine going any other way.
Well, there we go. Question 1, train's leaving the station, Band-Aids ripped off. Cheers.
Salud, thank you. Let's make this Paloma, though. So our second cocktail, the Passion Paloma, kind of our go-to cocktail for El Tesoro when we want to showcase the brand, any sort of sampling event, and also just a really simple kind of twist on the classic. The Paloma itself, as you probably know, Blanco, tequila, fresh lime juice, and grapefruit soda. I feel so strongly, I will die on the hill that you need grapefruit soda in a Paloma. For everyone out there, even though I know you're all far better bartenders than I am, the fresh grapefruit juice and soda water thing sucks. It never tastes as good as you want it to taste. You can't make a Cuba Libre without Coca-Cola. You can't make a Paloma without El Tesoro, but without grapefruit soda. So this is our recipe. It is pretty simply an ounce and a half of tequila. This is my one secret when it comes to Palomas. I know I did say it has to be grapefruit soda, and that's true, but this is the only time that I will advocate for people to freeze their tequila.
Okay.
Here's the thing. 9 times out of 10, if you ask me, I want to drink my Blanco room temperature in a nice glass and just enjoy the aromatics as they evaporate out of the glass, right? However, whenever you're making a highball, you're making a long drink of any sort, you want to keep that carbonation in solution, right? So you want to make sure that you get as many bubbles as humanly possible. The way to do that is to have your liquor as cold as possible, because everything else you add in there is going to just exacerbate the bubbles and bubble them out. You don't want a flat Paloma. So actually, I don't know why I got this. We're not even going to shake this. We're going to build it right in the glass. Nice tall Collins glass.
Excellent.
Get a scoop of ice. If you like a little tahini rim, if you like a grapefruit twist, all of those are wonderful garnishes. I kind of like to keep my cocktail simple, though. So here's to you, man.
Cheers to you.
Salud. Yeah.
Yeah. That is real good. That is
simple, refreshing. The great thing about those grapefruit sodas is they add so much texture in addition to the bubbles.
that's really great. All right, so question 2.
Question 2.
You, again, from our social stalking, I mean research, you talked about, again, this is the last time I'm going to bring it up, but you talked about in theater, you were in theater because of the community. But with El Tesoro, you're a family. So what does that kind of mean to you? Like, you became a fan and then into a working role. So that idea of family and community was there because you were from the outside in. What does that mean to you now being an ambassador of the brand?
Man, I don't know if there's a big difference between family and community, because I'm very much a fan of the family or the people you choose, which happens to be your community, right?
Yeah.
Here, at La Latania here, at La Latania, right, where we make this beautiful tequila in the highlands of Jalisco, you have about 150 people that work at the distillery. About 125 of them are part of 3 core families that have been working with Carlos and his family through the generations. So that community of tequila artisans is really the foundation on which this beautiful tequila is built. I'm lucky, being such an outsider, only knowing initially the family through this beautiful liquid they make, that to now come in and get to work into some of their cultures, right? Be invited to participate in their family events, be invited to share their family stories is an incredible honor for someone who so distinctively isn't part of Mexican culture, right? So it kind of behooves me to really honor and appreciate everything that's happening, because the last thing I'd want to do is, exacerbate that culture and provide any sort of poor representation of the culture because I am coming in just showcasing this booze that we make, right? When you get to talk so wonderfully about the craft and history of these brands, it's almost impossible not to loop in those family stories of, not just Carlos's father, but his grandfather, and talk about Don Pedro, who helped first bring agaves to the highlands. These stories are so intrinsically linked to our tequila that it's necessary to honor them through these stories.
I mean, I'm a firm believer that once we drink together, we are considered family. So that is like one of those things. And two, like, you got to share strawberry wine with Carlos like that. You are part of the family. Like, how, like, again, bringing that in, like you said, you are an outsider brought in even closer. So like now you're like family inner circle. Like, what does that mean? Like how was that? Like, that's gotta be.
I don't know if I can tell you the last time I had a truly bad hangover from drinking good tequila, but I can guarantee you that Carlos's raspberry wine, as delicious as it is, the bottom of the second bottle hurts the next morning. It is beautifully delicate, lovely tart raspberry wine. But man, if I could remember half the things that happened that night, I would feel very fortunate. That's the night when I met his pet deer. That's the night I got to see his man cave. He just built this beautiful new home for himself. He's got this, what he calls his little man cave underground, right? Eye level, with this beautiful field in his backyard. And he had like 4 bottles in there because he hadn't loaded up yet. It was Tapatio, Ocho, Tesoro, and raspberry wine. And I think there were maybe 10 of us that night. We at least drunk through a case of it.
Wow.
But, it's just, it's magical to be part of that community. If you take that, right, and you look at kind of the way the bar world operates, the hospitality world operates, we really are about building families in the spaces that we are. Any restaurant you go to, any bar, any place where people are coming together every night to serve others, you kind of can't help but lean on the people next to you, because there are, in spite of all the incredible experiences, there are some really challenging experiences working in restaurants.
Oh,
and so the way that we get to lean on our brothers and sisters behind the bar allows us to, build a deeper, more thoughtful, more more heartfelt bond with everyone. And I hope to kind of do the same thing in this role. The great thing about, again, our tequila, and the great thing about what Beam Suntory allows us to do as ambassadors, championing the spirit and the legacy of them, is we get to talk about all these people who over generations have been making our spirits. Whether you're talking about Beam, 8 generations ago, or you're talking about the 4th generation starting to distill at La Latania, these little communities are what make everything special and drive, those relationships home.
If you were bartending right now and you had 4 seats in front of you, who would the 4 seats be filled with, and what would you be serving them?
Oh shit! What a cool question. Okay, first one, dead or alive?
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Okay. My Papa Stell, who I'm looking at a picture of him right behind the camera there. Papa Stell is a Texas boy. He's got all the stories of growing up. He was in cars all his life. First job at a gas station, eventually owned dealerships. When he retired, he rebuilt old Model A's. Incredible man that I never realized until shortly before he passed was also a moonshiner.
Okay.
We don't have enough time for those stories today, but the number of stories of him, leaving the living room around 3:50 every day and walking back into that living room with a can of Coke that I noticed eventually was the same branding on that Coke can from the last 6 years that I'd been there. Nothing had changed. Turns out he'd been distilling moonshine, pouring it into his little Coke can. And it was always strange to me how somewhere around 4:30, Papa Stell got real friendly and real funny. But I never got to drink with him. So seat 1, certainly Papa Stell. Seat 2 is, gosh. I mean, I'd certainly love to have Jackie there. So I think Jackie's probably seat 2.
Okay.
Seat 3, making cocktails for people I love. Probably talking 2 people from drink. That was my foundational, but nope, I take it back. I'm going to go 1 person from drink, 1 person from another incredible, incredible cocktail bar in Boston that was closed and now reopened. First one is Misty Calcoven. Misty's always been a mentor to me. She's the one who introduced me to El Tesoro just by taking me through our tequila. She worked for Del Maguey for a long time and now works for Suro Imports. She'll be on my panel coming up when Tales of the Cocktail this year. We've got a panel talking about tequila. She'll be on the panel I'm hosting.
Nice.
And the last one is probably a grumpy old man named Hugh Fiore who served me my first classic cocktail ever. We always debate whether it was a sidecar or a Mai Tai. It was one or the other.
Okay.
But back at Eastern Standard when I was a kid at that conservatory, kind of trying to figure out if I thought this cocktail world was really anything more than just hanging out and working late nights. That grumpy old man convinced me that you can take excellent care of people, and I'll always be thankful. He's a wonderful, wonderful fella.
Excellent.
And still in Boston now, but no longer at that bar.
All right. And then what are we drinking?
Oh, we're drinking shots.
All right.
We're probably drinking. It's me, so it's probably Tesoro Blanco and either a Bud Heavy or Coors Banquet. We're not getting weird. We're not doing crazy cocktails. We're drinking neat agave spirits and heavy flavorless beer.
Fuck yeah, love it. Sounds like a good night to me. I mean, yeah. Well, there we go. That's question 2. So, cheers. All right. Question 3, drink 3. What are we drinking?
We are drinking what I call the Maya Well cocktail, right?
Okay.
There was a wonderful cocktail. God, I don't want to make this entire interview about drink, but it also inspired this drink. So there was a wonderful cocktail created by this man named John Gertzen, who was the original general manager of Drink. The man kind of took me under his wing with Misty to kind of teach me how to make cocktails. And his was called The Means of Preservation, which was a riff on, if I'm not mistaken, Murray Stenson from Zigzag in Seattle. Is it Seattle or Portland? I forget. I think it's Seattle. I think this was his cocktail originally, and it was gin and Saint Germain and dry vermouth way, way back when Saint Germain was a novel ingredient that no one had ever heard of. John brought that to Drink, changed it ever so slightly, added a little bit of celery bitters, just kind of played with the two a little bit, made for a beautiful martini variation, dry, stirred, just a touch of that floral element. And when I'm not drinking tequila and beer, I'm drinking martinis. I absolutely love gin.
Okay.
I love the simple classic martini. So I want to make something that when I'm out and about and the acid reflux from just the liters of lime juice that I drink at a time in margaritas has gotten too aggressive, I ask for this cocktail. And it's very simple, 3 ingredients. course, just the longest, most ostentatious spoon you can get.
There we go. It's the new meme right now on the internet is all about how big your spoon is. So yeah.
Man, the longest spoon you can buy. I wanted to, for a long time, I had one that was, the thing was like 3 feet long. I had it in a back holster, just so I could.
By the power of Grayskull.
It's not sanitary to hold your spoon in your back. Just in case anyone was wondering, don't do that in a bar. It's a terrible idea.
Jeez.
I'm going to make a mess because I poured too much. But salud. I swear, I used to know how to bartend, and I used to know about wash lines, and I used to, like, make nice drinks somewhat swiftly. I was never fast, but, like, I could at least get it there. Today I'm making a mess, but it's my home, so I don't give a shit.
If no one likes it, they can leave.
Correct. Yeah. Get out of here, but don't. Fast forward to the end if you're not going to watch the rest.
Right.
Gotta get those views, okay?
Yeah. Yes.
Like and subscribe.
Like it. There you go.
Smash the button. Is it down here? Is it over there? Where's the button?
Yeah. It'll be on the right side. Yeah. So yeah, just hit that like button.
I know this is my drink.
Yeah.
But y'all, if you have the ingredients, give it a try. I think this is so delicious. I'm biased, but I think it's very tasty.
That is just, it's gorgeous. Like that is so like just refreshing and nice and like the sage. Yeah, loving it.
I appreciate it.
No, that's, and again, I can't pay attention to wash lines either. So like that.
Just more for later, you know?
Exactly. All right. So question 3, we kind of, we're 3 drinks in now. So, we kind of call this the talking shit segment. So we get a little, kind of, looser with our lips, if you will. But, question 3 is, what makes El Tesoro different than other tequilas?
Oh, man. A lot of shit. No, so El Tesoro is the longest standing traditional tequila on the market. We're very lucky and very fortunate that when Carlos's father, Don Felipe, created this brand, he wasn't trying to reinvent the wheel. They have a sister brand at La Latena called Tapatio that everyone knows and loves. If you can see through the glare, it's probably right there behind me, right? Yeah. And I don't have a bad thing to say about it. It's a beautiful tequila. It was the original recipe at La Latena when Carlos's grandfather, also Don Felipe, built the distillery. Over the years, though, times kind of changed. New equipment became available. And Carlos's father, Felipe J., he brought in a roller mill and started to modernize ever so slightly the process of Tapatio. When the creator of El Tesoro, a man named Robert Denton, and Marilyn, I forget. I don't think Marilyn also goes by Denton, so I apologize, Marilyn, if I missay your name. But I'm going to call you Marilyn Denton for now. But Robert and Marilyn came down together. They wanted to create another great craft tequila, something that wasn't really available at the time. And rather than building a new brand, Don Felipe just brought back the family's original recipe. That's why we are the treasure of Don Felipe, not named after himself, but named after his father, whose original recipe from 1937 we're using now.
Okay.
That's a long and convoluted way to say this is a really old style of tequila. Nowadays, in the midst of this tequila boom that we're experiencing, you're seeing more and more brands that are using traditional methods and how they're making tequila. But this is the one from 87 years ago when the distillery opened. Our first bottle with an El Tesoro name came out in 1988. And since then, no one else has really copied our style exactly. You've seen a few more, obviously, Horno roasted, slow cooked, steam oven cooked agave tequilas. You've seen those more often now. You'll see a few tequilas that do, in fact, use the tahona, the giant stone wheel that crushes the agave, that is so important to us that we made it, the cap on our bottle. But in addition to those traditional methods, we also get all of the agave that we use for our tequila from Carlos's fields. So it's 100% estate-grown agave, which means we aren't, up to the whims of whatever supplier we might be just buying agave from. These underripe, undersugared agaves. Instead, Carlos's team can take their time going through the fields and picking out this one is right and this one that's right, and only choosing these beautiful ripe fields. From there, slow cooking, tahona crushing, which is a slow, laborious process. And because it is so inefficient, it allows us to use something from that tahona process. The bagasse, the leftover fibers of the agave, still have a lot of fruit on them when we're done pressing the juice out. So we can actually take those fibers and put them in our fermentation vats. These open vat pine fermentation vats allow natural yeast to inoculate the spirit, or at least at that point the agomel, right, the honey. And when it inoculates that agave juice and water together, you're getting flavors of specifically the area we are, the climate we're in, the region we're in at La Alteña. From there, 4 to 6 days fermenting. And then once we get to distillation, we do a couple things. One thing that very few producers do, one thing that no one else does. And that is, at distillation, we double distill twice in small copper pot stills. But we actually take those fibers once again, and we put them in our still. In the same way, really, really great gin is made by taking those botanicals and macerating it in the liquid to allow the alcohol to essentially infuse and take those oils out. We do the same thing with our agave fibers, putting them in the still and allowing our tequila to essentially infuse itself with deeper, richer agave flavor. You can only do that if you're using a tahona, because for all of its faults being inefficient, that leftover fruit allows you to kind of pull that extra flavor out.
Okay.
From there, we are the only tequila out of every tequila produced these days, of which there are like 200 new brands last year alone. We are the only one that is 100% distilled to proof, meaning this Blanco, Reposado, even this extra añejo behind me, the 10 years examples behind me as well. None of those have ever touched water after distillation. Because of that, when you taste El Tesoro, you're getting everything from the 6 to 8 years of growing agave, the day and a half of growing and quartering agave to cook it, 3 days of roasting, a day of crushing, a week of fermenting, a couple days of distilling. You're getting all of that labor and hardship and heart in the final product, never diluted. So in a world of agave spirits that are blowing up right now, we're lucky to be able to kind of raise the banner for this long-standing tradition of essentially what tequila tasted like 100 years ago.
That's fucking awesome. When that kind of process of you referring it to a gin style, I just thought it was so kind of amazing because I've never heard that before. And again, I'm not a big tequila connoisseur, which is also why I wanted you on the show. But I mean, I thought it was just a very cool way of, bringing that process into light. I really thought that was so cool.
One of the things that Carlos is best at, after growing agave, after distilling agave, is he is incredible at building metaphors to translate the process of tequila making. There's so much in the process of tequila that's unique to just our style of spirit, or just agave spirits, right? Because the plant is so much different than any of the fruits or grains that you use to make other distillates. The process and how you take care of that plant in the long run changes so many styles and really changes the characteristic of the spirit. And this is, in fact, I mentioned we're doing a seminar at Tales this year. I'm going to just keep plugging myself because why not? At Tales this year, a seminar called Blind Blanco is a 9-spirit blind tasting, all agave spirits, generally all tequila, but breaking down one element at a time, removing all the other variables, breaking down one element at a time so that you can taste what does slow steam cooking do versus high pressure autoclaves. What does a tahona taste like versus a roller mill? What is this fermentation versus that? Because a lot of people have kind of preconceived notions of tequila based off of just the one time someone handed it to them with authority, and they assume that's the the baseline for all agave spirits. So we hope to kind of open people's eyes a little bit to just how much in that process influences the final spirit.
That's awesome. When is your Tales event again?
I don't know the date of our seminar yet. We just got accepted. Very, very thankful and very humbled by the fact that they want to hear myself and our wonderful little team of panelists talk about these spirits. As a guy who just really, really loves this tequila world, it's amazing that I get to, share my story and be able to tell other people's stories on that stage with these incredible panelists.
That's
Which
awesome.
we'll have, like I said, my wonderful friend Misty from Tesoro Imports and Del Maguey, formerly. Jenny Camarena, our director of operations at the distillery. And then we'll have a third panelist named Kelly Rivers, who, I don't know, have you met Kelly? I don't think you've done an interview with her yet.
Yes. Yeah, she was just on 2 weeks ago.
Okay, so I haven't seen her time with you yet. But yeah, Kelly is our senior gin ambassador for Beam Suntory.
Yep.
She has either the largest or second largest privately owned gin collection in the world.
Largest.
The largest? Okay, the largest.
All in her Brooklyn apartment, which I don't understand because it must be huge.
It's hilarious to do Zooms with her because you see these behind me. Every inch of square wall space in her home is just a shelf with gin on it. Yeah. But she's another one of my incredible mentors. She does a lot of like the blind tastings for whether it's San Francisco Spirit Competition, London.
Yeah.
So she'll be kind of our avatar for the guests sitting in the seminar to really see if what we're talking about and the differences in these flavors is perceptible or if we're just blowing smoke.
All right. So then, well, fuck. I mean, I think that's question 3. I think we
didn't even get to shit talk. I didn't shit talk anyone.
I know.
Shit talk.
There you go. See, I guess we're just not that drunk yet. So.
Okay, we'll get there. I'll work on it.
Question 4, drink 4. What are we drinking?
All right. Our next drink was my first like house cocktail, really. Okay. When I worked at Drink and then Number 9 Park after that, Drink had a very specific cocktail list. It was 300 cocktails. You tell us what you like to drink and we make whatever you wanted based off that kind of compiling your information against our database of cocktails. Number 9 had an incredible cocktail list, but it was balanced by this incredible wine list and beer and everything else. When I eventually left to open up kind of my own space and have my own bar program, I worked with my mentor to develop a series of drinks. One of them inspired the Maya Well down the line. The other one, I wanted kind of your everyday tequila drink, right? Like an easy go-to that wasn't too many ingredients, that was just blanket delicious and would be enjoyed by everyone. So this is kind of your quintessential pink drink.
All right. Love it.
And then we garnish it with this little lime wheel. And then these are little cilantro flowers. You may not be able to see that given the light. But cilantro flowers and a lime wheel give you just a nice little aromatic. Anyway.
Cheers.
Enjoy.
It's fucking... It's really great. I mean, honestly, all these drinks have been amazing because these are, as Kelly had said, she's just porch sipping drinks. Like, that's all she wants is just porch sipping drinks. And
yeah,
today it's like 75 in New York, and these are just porch sipping drinks. So I really, like, it's nice here today. So, like, these are just like, I'm just want to go sit outside and, this is just
amazing. Look, I can keep my answers really short from now on. You can just slam these back, go outside.
We're good. We might be making some more of these tonight, so don't worry. All right. So question 4, this is kind of my favorite question to ask new people that are multifaceted. And by what I mean by that is people that have experiences outside of the booze industry but end up in the booze industry.
Sure.
So what is one piece of advice you wish you would have gotten earlier in your career?
Well, The piece of advice that it's not that I didn't get it, it's that I wish I could have heard it better. I wish I could have heard and taken it in, is maybe stop being such a douchebag. Stop being so exclusionary, right? Like,
All right.
very early on, because I thought that I was living in this incredible cocktail world, I was only interested in tasting the most high caliber, the most interesting, the most coveted spirits. And I think it did me a bit of a disservice, because building your palate, building your appreciation for spirits is about enjoying the breadth of the category. And there is a truth to only knowing good spirits when you have really bad ones. The same thing happens with building relationships in bars, right? Like, if you don't put yourself in a situation to be uncomfortable, then you never actually get to grow from where you are. And that goes for a lot of the kind of young bartenders working now, working back when I started, is if we insulate ourselves only into specific spaces where we know they can make a daiquiri to the degree and balance that we want, then you don't actually get to experience the breadth of the bar and hospitality world. Taking it beyond hospitality, you don't get to experience the breadth of the world when you limit yourself to those specific standards.
And then what would be one piece of advice you'd give somebody, like you said, you wanted to go back to where everybody was the same age at a certain point in time. But let's just say, what advice would you want to give somebody that's just wanting to either start out or get into this?
Take your time is what I would say.
Okay.
I think regularly, fondly, but regularly, back on the various bars that I got to work in. And I think at any moment in those bars, I was thinking, okay, how do I show off that I'm the best person here so I can make the next step? I think that every moment in that history, I could have taken an extra few seconds, a couple minutes, to appreciate the moment that I was in and what I was learning from the people I was with and who I was with, right? If your goal is to be the best and in some ways prove that you're the best, it's easy to lose the opportunity to continue learning from the people around you. It's really easy to get so focused on showcasing your worth that you don't take the time to appreciate the worth of the other people around you. And I have been just incredibly lucky over my time. Getting a little choked up. I've been really lucky to work with some incredible bartenders. But I mean, like, I live in the scope of people who are bartenders and servers and hospitality people, but just incredible humans. I've been able to work with some incredible people that have taught me so much more than just putting booze in cups and shaking it. That I wish I could have spent more time with those many, many people outside of the hours of 4 to 3.
Yeah.
That's it. Leave yourself open to be uncomfortable. Protect yourself in those situations so that you're safe. But give yourself an opportunity to be with people that challenge you and accept that challenge and grow from it. That's the most that I could ever hope if I got to go back in time.
It's just, everything is so connected from where, like, whoever you meet, like, just don't be an asshole, because, like, you never know who you're going to meet and who that person knows, and whoever, like, again, how we met is just, it's just a connection via connection, and then you find out that, like, that connection sprouts out, and you got 5 other people in common, and like everybody knows everybody, and it's just, it's just, I love that, again, going back to what you said about community, and I think that's just, yeah.
It's funny, you never know who you're going to run into, right? Like, early on in my career, I'd been bartending for maybe like a year, so like just taking that first kind of step over the line from bar back to apprentice bartender. We had the entire bar smarts team at our bar. And one of them asked me for like this is Wondrich. You mentioned Wondrich. This is Wondrich. This is Paul Packold. This is Dale DeGroff, King Cocktail himself. All just sitting at the bar, enjoying themselves. And one of them asked me for Blood and Sand, a cocktail that I still to this day think is a shitty cocktail, but like they wanted it.
Okay.
And in the moment, I was so busy trying to show off that I could do cool new things that I made him my riff on a Blood and Sand. Now, our recipe at the time was an ounce of scotch, ounce of sweet vermouth, half an ounce of orange, half an ounce of cherry herring. You know, take the spec for whatever you will. But I was like, you know what? I'm going to blow this man's mind. This man that has been to more bars in his lifetime than I've read on a list. Like I can't even list the amount of places this man has experienced good cocktails. And I thought that I would really show him what's up.
Yeah.
But because I couldn't keep my ego in check, I served him this Mezcal Blood and Sand that he very out loud called me out. Like a publication, like a week later, he's like, I love this bar, but this guy right here sucks. Like, I'm not kidding. It was almost that explicit of like, man, everything about this bar was incredible except for this one guy who thought that he could do better than a 100-year-old classic cocktail. And that, like, because I was so busy trying to showcase that I could do better, that I could be the best, I forgot that just taking care of guests is our number one priority. Taking care of people and giving them the thing that they ask for is more important than any special recipe spec that you have. And sometimes someone just wants a bad Blood and Sand, and you should give them to them.
You should give them.
And that's fine. That's a terrible cocktail, and no one should drink them. I won't get off my high horse that it's a bad cocktail, but I should have served it.
Yep. There you go. Hey, look, to each their own. Like,
teach their own, but you should also know that you drink bad drinks if you have Blood and Sand. There's no redeeming factor. It's never been made well.
There you go.
That's why I no longer work for Lefroy. I can't work for Scotch. I hate Blood and Sands.
Yeah.
Tim, this, I believe, you said last question was the shit-talking question. I think now...
Now this is the... We'll flip it. So we'll... Question 5, drink 5. Last drink of the night, unfortunately. What are we drinking?
We are drinking what I call the Chiapas Negroni. You might be familiar. There's a tequila cocktail called a Rosita, which takes a Negroni, splits the sweet and dry vermouth into, from one part sweet vermouth into half a part each of sweet and dry vermouth. It's a perfectly fine cocktail, but I've never loved it.
Okay.
For some reason, it doesn't balance the richness that I want from it. And I used to work with this wonderful fella named Darren back in Boston. One of the best, most articulate cocktail makers I've ever worked with. His name is Darren Swisher. And Darren has a palate that just finds two strange ingredients and brings them together in a weird way that you wouldn't expect. An absolute master of tiki cocktails, of tropical cocktails. But he once brought to me this ingredient that he made because he wanted to create something for people who were drinking non-alcoholic cocktails, but still wanted something bittersweet and savory. And so he took Campari. You know, everyone knows that incredibly bitter, sweet, orange Campari, right?
Yep.
Bright red, but orange flavor. And he cooked that down until it was just kind of a goo of Campari flavor and sugar.
Okay.
And then took the amount of Campari that he had reduced down from a liter, right? And added coffee on top of that. So evaporated all the water and liquid out. Added coffee, which is in its base just water. And made this incredible bittersweet non-alcoholic coffee liqueur.
Oh.
Now I can't call it that. It's not a great ingredient for bars because you have to take a whole bottle of something delicious and then break it down until there's nothing left of what you can call it.
Right.
But it makes an incredible ingredient. So rather than forcing bars to make that, we started splitting coffee and Campari together in this Negroni riff. It starts off with an ounce of El Tesoro Reposado.
Very nice.
Just strain that right over the top. A lot of really fancy, really well respected cocktail bars will trim this peel, but like, let's be honest, just be good at it, and you have straight enough lines as it is.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it.
There you go. That was, I mean, and again, that was like one fluid fucking motion. Like that was, I'm in awe. So like that, yeah.
And then if you want to, you can put a couple beans on top just to feel like you're honoring the history of the coffee. These are lovely Chiapas beans, but this is, what do we call the Chiapas Negroni?
Cheers.
Cheers, bud. Thanks for a fun time.
Thank you.
Coffee and Campari are beautiful together. When I taste El Tesoro Reposado, I get like this little touch of like dried red fruit. Like, I don't know if you went to space camp and you were given that like freeze-dried strawberries, but that just sits in the back of my head. And freeze-dried strawberries, freeze-dried raspberries
Yeah.
come up every time I taste.
I get way more fruitier kind of taste off of it. I think that coffee really kind of brings this stuff together. Yeah, that's fucking awesome.
This is a terrible podcast. Totally off the rails. Who decided we should drink a bunch of stuff and talk? I'm just going to get in trouble.
There you go. Well,
Cheers to that.
cheers to that. Hopefully we don't get you in too much trouble.
I think we'll be all right.
Well, you haven't got question 5 yet. So
Question 5.
All right. So question 5 comes down to the Whiskey Wednesday coin. You can flip it. You can spin it. You don't have to answer. The coin will give us the answer. And I think not to get you in trouble, it's probably best that you don't answer. But you did say you were a competitive person. So you are first of one half of a couple that I have not interviewed at the same time. So I have interviewed Jackie and I have interviewed now you. Question 5. Do you think your episode will do better than Jackie's?
Oh, shit! Well, we'll leave that one to the coin. I gotta say, just a plug. This is the most beautiful challenge coin I've ever been given. It also very likely could kill a man. It's heavy as hell. And if, depending on the answer it gives me now, it might kill my relationship. So we'll see what happens. Here's, let's take one last sip of this bad boy.
Be careful. We don't want you breaking anything. There's a lot of glass.
Here we go. 5 drinks till midnight. Oh, God.
Did you catch it? Oh, you did.
Did. The question. Will my episode do better than my dear sweet fiance Jackie Schramm's episode? The pineapple has decided.
Fuck no.
Fuck no. Not surprising. Nothing I have ever done in my life has been as good as what Jackie has accomplished. And you know what? I'm perfectly fine with that. The more inspiration I can draw from that broad, the better.
All right, Tyler, that is 5 drinks down, 5 questions answered. Thank you so much for joining us. I really appreciate your time, and thank you so much for walking us through this awesome tequila tasting. It was truly enjoyable, so thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
The pleasure was all mine, Tim. Thank you for the opportunity to come talk about our wonderful brand and tell probably too many stories about myself, but I love a chance to drink a cocktail with a person who loves it too. So thank you for the opportunity, and hopefully we get to do this in person in New York soon.
I agree. I am a firm believer, and again, it was no bullshit in question 2. People that drink together are now family. So again, anytime you are in New York City, please hit me up. I love showing off New York City. I love showing off the weird places. Please, let's have an unscheduled night, and I will love to show you around, and we can see what fucking trouble we can get into. So,
yes, sir.
cheers to you.
Cheers, buddy.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a wonderful night.
Thanks.